Hi friends, welcome to Wild Cottage. My name is Susan. This is Shep. He's a retired sheepdog border collie. Mimi is on the ground there. She's another rescue dog that we have. She's a Labrador mix. I live here with my partner Tom, and here is Wild Cottage in County Clare, up in the hills in the west of Ireland. And you're very, very welcome here. Returning viewers, hello, thank you for coming back. New viewers, I'm so excited that you're here as well. I hope you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please feel free to subscribe. That would be wonderful. We just hit 1,000 subscribers about, I guess, a week ago or so. So it is giveaway time. I'm going to do the giveaway in 2 parts. And I'm going to kind of do the podcast in 2 parts because I haven't done a full podcast for a while. So I have lots of finished objects, but I'm going to break them down into 2. So probably in 2 weeks' time, I'll have podcast 10. This is podcast 9. And we'll do catch up on my other finished objects. And we will do the second part of the giveaways. So yeah, so you're very, very welcome, everyone. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, first I better tell you before I forget as well, all the information about the things that I talk about will be in the description box, in the sort of drop down menu right under the video. Links and all information will be in there. If you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, if I've forgotten to put a link in, do comment down below. One of the things about nature, you never know what's gonna fly into your ear. Where was I? Yes, so, but I will get it back eventually if I don't do it straight away. And I do appreciate your comments. I have a few things in this podcast that I'm going to ask for your advice on, so they will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Can you hear that little... Who is that? I can't tell because of the sun. Oh, there's so many varieties of birds here. Let me just flip the camera around for a moment. So, I don't know if you can see there, that's our willow fedge. So it's coming into its 3rd year now. A friend of ours grows a lot of willow for basket weaving. And we just bought some, willow whips off of him, stuck them in the ground, like just cut willow because it'll just root. You don't even have to have roots on it. And let it grow. So we left the one at the very end just to be tall, and our friend came and wove it in for us this week. And it's for a windbreak, and it's also great. Willow is one of the best things for wildlife. There's so many different insects that the birds enjoy, and they're always up in it getting little insects and all. So yeah, I wanted to show you that. And of course, a lot of those are going to be really good for basket making and weaving willow hurdles and stuff, which we will do at some point too. Anyway, okay, back to focusing on me. I'm sorry. But so in this podcast, I'm going to have 3 finished objects, one of which, if you've seen older podcasts, I think you have maybe seen before, but I needed to talk about it a little bit more because the pattern has been released. Then I have a couple works in progress, and I have a lot of shiny, because oh my goodness, I have some exciting ideas for projects, some really, really special yarns I want to share with you, and of course I have the giveaway prizes that I want to share for this podcast. There's going to be 2 giveaways this podcast and 2 giveaways next podcast, and you'll learn how to enter to get that. Be entered in the giveaway. And yeah, so in the shiny section, that's where I might see patterns I'm tempted by, other podcasts, knit-alongs, make-alongs, and I just share them with you, so in case you're interested as well. So hope you saw that little butterfly just fly past. Now I'll show you the scourge of the Irish summer, if you can see it. Can you see the little midges around Mimi? She's attracting them. I think she's going to be probably noisy, and the camera's probably the phone's probably picking that up. She's chewing her bone. But she's also attracting the midges to her because they do like dark colors versus light. And usually by this time of the day here at the cottage, they've gone, but it's fairly mild today. As you can see, I'm able to wear this knit, which I'll talk about. And there's no real breeze. So once the wind gets up to over 7 miles an hour, that really discourages them because they can't fly into the wind really well. But I think in the North America, they're often called no-see-ums. They're really tiny and they have a fierce enough bite. Like you feel them bite you a lot of times, but you can't really see them. Anyway, so we are very lucky here at the cottage because we don't nearly have as many midges as one would think. Like I'm able to sit here right now. Now the sun is definitely helping, but when the cloud goes over the sun, that's when they like it because they like it cool. Anyway, this is not a program about midges. Anyway, but I'm just, they love me. They do love me though. I can see them, yeah. Yeah, they've found me now, some of them. Yeah, I've got my lovely herbal tea here. They don't like citronella and they don't like bog myrtle, which is a native plant around here because we're very boggy, which is one reason we have midges. They don't like that oil. So unfortunately, what I have in my teacup, they don't mind at all. This is red clover. And the reason I'm showing you like this is because once you put it in your tea and put the hot water on it, it just takes all the color out. But I've also got strawberry mint in here, which is my favorite mint, and lemon balm. So I'm just going to pop this rest of this other red clover in there as well. The water's not super hot anymore, so it might retain its color a bit more. And I like to put in this little concoction a little bit of local honey. So cheers. I hope you have something nice to drink if you would like. I just got a leaf. It's very pretty to do it like this, but sometimes that does happen. But I love it like this. I really enjoy looking at my cup of tea. Look at the midges enjoying me. Oh, they're enjoying me. I'm going in. Sorry, guys. Okay, friends, we're back. And I actually took the opportunity, since we're not going to be out trying to pick up birdsong, to put on the microphone. And of course, Shep is very happy because he gets to snuggle because we're both on the sofa. Let me do the podcast. I have to look at the doggy. I have to look at doggy. Yes. I know a lot of you love to see Shep as well, and Mimi, but she is like Tom's little shadow. So he's out doing some work on the compost toilet, which is coming along really well and will be updated in just the Wild Cottage Life sort of vlog, and probably maybe next week. So let me talk about my finished objects to start. So if you had seen some of my earlier vlogs, probably in April when it was, peak daffodil and dandelion season, I did a lot of natural dyeing with daffodils and then dandelions. This is the yarn that I did with the first time of daffodils. So these sections here, so this is the first dye bath that I put in, and then I took that section of yarn out and I put in a second one. This is in here, it's not really quite showing up, perfectly. This is more yellow. It looks kind of creamy here, but it is more of a yellow, all right. So those were the yarns that I dyed with the daffodil flowers. And I paired them together then with 2 mini skeins that I had from Felt Fusion for one of my Christmas advents. Tom got me a Christmas advent, and I got myself a Christmas advent from Gideon Yarns. This one is from Felt Fusion, who is a dyer over in England, in the UK. And you can see here, it's a variegated skein, and I held this one double with the lighter colored daffodil. I hope my microphone's under there. I hope it's not making a lot of noise. And then for this section, I had another mini skein of hers, and I held that double. What are you doing? With the darker skeins, I thought they went nicely together. And then, are you interested? Are you interested? Yes. And then I got a little button from a woman who inherited her grandmother's hand button maker over in France. She's in France, and she makes these lovely handmade buttons with different fabrics. And I'm trying to see if that is going to focus. I would just take it off. Because with my bifocal glasses, sometimes I can't see what's happening. I'm not sure how much of that is because it's not focusing or is because I can't see it focus. See that better without my glasses on. I think you can see it there. Anyway, all that palaver to show you the button, but it was a little set. This reminded me kind of the Holly Hobbie dolls, you know, with her dress and her big sun hat. So I thought that was really sweet, and it matched really nicely. And it came a set of like 4. And I believe, you know, her sets like that are sort of from, you know, €3 to €5, depending how many buttons are in it and what size, and you know what I suppose how much the fabric was. And she's in France, and she's on Etsy, and I'll link that below. Oh, I didn't say her name is Tranquillement, and I can't remember her actual name at this minute. But yeah, so she has a fabulous selection of buttons, really nice. So anyway, so I made this neck piece, and it's not a pattern. I just basically, you know, knit a rectangle, and I made some garter stitch and stockinette, and then garter stitch rows. Yeah, just knit back and forth, and then I made a little buttonhole and put on the button. And so you can wear it a lot of different type of ways. You can, you know, move the button around, and actually I have 2 button loops in here, so you can do it different ways. But so this is nice when the weather is like now, when it is not really warm, but it's not, you know, cold. And you could also, you know, give it all of this or give it this, you know, you can do a lot of things. So I thought that was quite fun. So, but I think I'll take that off because it will rustle. And also I want to put on the other things I wanted to show you that I made. So yeah, so I'm really quite pleased with that. Oh, I didn't tell you the wool. So I dyed the wool myself, the main wool, and it's an Irish wool. So the plain skeins there, I told you Felt Fusion made the variegated fingering weight that I held it with, but this is an Aran weight, and this is an Irish wool, and it's the Belclare, which is an Irish breed. There aren't too many actual Irish breeds. There is the biggest one that's still around is the Galway, or the most amount is the Galway sheep. Then there's also the Roscommon, also the Belclare, which I think, I could be wrong, but I think was bred off of the Galway. And there's a few Belclares, again, I don't think there's that many. But this is the wool, and of course it's rustic, it's not superwash. That's their sheep, that's their farm, and they had the wool spun. And I got this through Irish Fibre Crafters, and I dyed it myself. So it's a rustic wool. I mean, I'm okay with rustic wools. As you can see, I was wearing that right next to my skin. It was 80 meters per 100 grams. So it's like an Aran weight. Yeah, and really nice to knit with. I've really found that lately I'm not enjoying knitting big projects with fingering weight. It's just too fiddly. It's taken me too long. So I'm enjoying maybe, you know, holding them double or working with something with DK or above is really my favorite the past couple months. Are you the same? I know, I mean, I think people love fingering. It seems like, you know, fingering. But yeah, I'm kind of going, yeah, I would like DK or above even. Not necessarily like super chunky. I do enjoy using that sometimes, but too much of that does, you know, get my wrists kind of, my hand and all going. But anyways, I have some really exciting projects coming up using a bulkier yarn, which I will show you towards the end of the podcast in the Ooh Shiny section. So the other 2, I've actually finished several projects because I haven't done a proper podcast for a while, and I will show you the rest of them next time. But this, I'm just showing you some two more KALs. Where are they? Okay, this one you have seen before, But I wanted to show you again because I wanted to talk about some of the little design feature on it. So I'll pop this on, my friend. I mean, really, can you beat the love of a pet, especially a dog? Yeah. I mean, look, he just wants to gaze lovingly. He wants to gaze lovingly. Yeah, my darling. Okay, so let me talk about this project. This is so soft. So the yarn I used for this project is from Giddy Aunt Yarns. It was from the DK. Wait, I ordered their Christmas Advent, and I ordered in the DK size, and it's a superwash merino. I'll hold this closer because they're kind of showing up all the same color here, and they're not. But this is a pattern by Gabrielle Matthews, and she has a podcast, and it is The Knit Witch, a crafting podcast. And she also works on farms, and at the minute she's working on a farm where they grow a lot of plants and flowers, I think mainly. So you should definitely check her channel out. She does knitting and she does crochet. Check her out. Her pattern is out now, and she has it on her own website and also on Ravelry. It's a paid for pattern. It's not very much. I put the information in the down bar because I did this as a test knit. Totally forgot to say that. I can tell I'm a little bit out of practice, and I'm probably speaking really quickly. So I did this as a test knit for Gabrielle, and it's a lovely pattern. You know, it's not complicated. I did do a few things in it I hadn't done before, just because I'm a new enough knitter. I hadn't done the twisted rib, so that was new to me, and it's easy to do, and it's she lays out the pattern really well, and I really enjoyed it. And I'll try to put this so now you can see a bit better. I apologize about the light in here, but it's the 3 different mini skeins of the Giddy Aunt yarns. So in some ways it's blowing out, and in some ways it's not really showing well. So yeah, sorry about that. I don't have any fancy lights or anything. So that's this pattern. It's called the Forest Floor Cowl, if I hadn't already said that. And another reason I wanted to talk about it is because I really like the little split in it that you do here, because it helps if you have different size heads and you're giving it as a gift. And because my next make, and also you can make this even longer, I didn't make it as long, so you can make it like a real design feature as well. And because my next thing that I was doing is I modified a pattern, and I decided I was going to take what was meant to be a wrap and make it into a cowl and make it into a gift for my niece who's a teenager. Would never wear a wrap or a shawl. I used that design feature in my next finished object. Kat from Heather and Hops, she was doing a Spring Intentions knit along. And it was fantastic knit along, like a lovely pattern. And with it, you were part of a Discord group. You could buy the kit for like what you were getting was a very good value in the kit. I didn't buy the kit, which is part of the reason I modified, and I'll tell you about that. There came with every week part of the pattern was released, and there was, there were writings and, setting intentions. It was really lovely. But I came to realize that I was worried I wouldn't have enough yarn to do the whole wrap. And also after a few weeks in, I was in that's when I wasn't doing very well health-wise, and I just didn't feel like continuing making the big wrap. But I did really love the fabric I had, and I decided to make a cowl for my niece, my teenage niece. And this is it here. And I had a rainbow mini set. I think it's called Fading Rainbows from Fairy Realm Yarns, and that's Nicole, and she has an Etsy shop. And plain yarn is the Cascade 220, the fingering non-superwash, and it's a light fingering, and that's part of the thing. This is kind of when I was making this is when I started to get really fed up with fingering weight yarn, especially this Cascade. I love the yarn itself, but I was just sick of making all those little itty bitty stitches. Anyway, so I decided what I would do. I would finish it up a bit early. I would, stitch it together and make it into a cowl. So what I decided to do was take the little idea from the Forest Floor Cowl by Gabrielle and just have a little slit in it. So I put it on after all that rambling. And it is really lovely because there's all sorts of different little stitch patterns. None of them are like hard, but they just vary. So they were very fun to knit and they would keep your attention. So this, I thought, I thought a teenager would enjoy it if it gets cold instead of a scarf. I mean, I never wanted to wear a scarf when I was a teenager. Of course, that was 40 years ago that I was a teenager. So I don't know about teenagers now too much. But I thought if she was going to wear any knitwear, perhaps this would be something she would enjoy. And anyways, I'll talk about the little gift set that I'm doing for them. So this is the faded rainbow spot, or you can turn it around, kind of half and half, or if you want to just be a little more subdued, you could give it all this. And she wears a lot of sweatshirts, and I think that this is perfectly matched for a sweatshirt. So I'm hoping that she will possibly enjoy it. And, if she doesn't, that's fine as well. I mean, that's perfectly okay. But what I had yarn left over. I had the Cascade and I still had some of the mini set. So what I've decided to do is for her mother, who is my sister, I have about 500 yards of the Cascade left and probably a good bit of that also in the rainbows. So I'm going to hold those double and I'm going to make a shawl for my sister, and it will very much go with her daughter's outfit or her daughter's cowl. And then for my other niece, which is my sister's oldest daughter, I have a beautiful yarn that is very similar from Arctic Crafts, Benta of Arctic Crafts, and she's on Etsy. And it's a beautiful it's the one I did my spring cowl out of. So they're very kind of soft rainbowy colors, kind of Easter eggy, sort of like that. So I thought that would be sort of just, I don't know, represent their little family unit. And there's not gifts for anything. It's just a gift to give them. Because I wouldn't like to give something like this to a teenager when I'm not sure if she would enjoy it, just, for a birthday gift or a Christmas, because she might not like it. So anyway, there's that ramble. So those are my three finished. You are just sitting back and just, snuggling. Look at this. So really cut down in my works in progress, kind of just for my mental health. I was having about 5 or 6. So I started off being basically a monogamous knitter, which was great. And then I got super carried away over the winter because that's when I can do most of my crafting because gardening isn't happening. So gardening takes a lot of my energy and my time in summer. And so I can't craft as much. So I kind of go back to just mainly knitting because that's the easiest thing for me to do, when afternoon comes and I'm physically tired from different things and I can just sit back and knit most of the time. But there goes the kestrel. Anyways, sorry, distraction. Oh, shiny. I'm terrible for that. Squirrel. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So I was having about 5 or 6 projects on my needles, which is some of the older podcasts. You'll see that and all my plans and all. And for the moment now, I have to put that on hold, and I feel better if I really only have 2 things on the needles. So I will show you those 2 things. One of them is in my lovely Dalmatians, 101 Dalmatians bag, which is from Gibby Rowe Sews. I think that's how you say it. And I'll show you her little tag. And again, she's a crafter on Etsy over in the UK. And I love 101 Dalmatians. So, and this is the inside, so you can fold it down and it'll sit. I am making this lovely sparkly shawl, and I'm calling it my Unicorn Sweets shawl, and it's going to be a gift. And I am using, I'll show you the yarns. So I'm using the main skein is a King Cold Galaxy. So you can see this is the one that has the little sparklies on. That's it there. And it's just called Pink. And it is a 50-gram ball, and I'm using 3 balls. This is my last one. It's 65% acrylic. I'm not usually into acrylic because I came at this through spinning, so I'm just wool oriented. But I was like, oh, shiny, because I do love me some sparkle and shiny. So this is 35% acrylic, 31% wool, and 4% soft paillette, which I imagine is the little shiny pieces. And there are 175 meters in the 50-gram balls. And during the Ireland has been in lockdown for a long time. I think we've been the longest in Europe. Just like 2 weeks ago, our shops, non-essential shops, were allowed to be open. But over the winter, most things, non-essential shops had to be closed. The news agents were allowed to be open, and one of the news agents in a town near enough to us has a little yarn section. So it's in a little shopping area where there's the grocery store. So I was in there at the grocery store in the health food shop, and of course I had to look into the news agents because they have a little bit of yarn. And I saw this yarn and I said, oh, shiny. Oh, that was probably loud. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up with this yarn. So I'm holding it double with 2 other yarns from Fairy Realm Yarns, minis. And this one is called Nymph. Let me try to... There, have we got that focused now? That's Nymph. And this one is Cranberries and Orange. Try to hide. Yep. Just a minute. There, I think that's focused. Anyway, so Cranberries and Orange. And I've just alternated. And this is, again, it's not a pattern. It's just something that I'm doing when I do my main knitting in the evening when I'm tired and I haven't got a lot of brain space. I don't know what I've done here, but I've just made a huge mess. But let's show you what the shawl looks like. And I do love a triangle shawl, and I do love the garter stitch in a big triangle shawl because it's so squishy. So that's basically what I'm doing, just a bunch of garter stitch and then some sort of lacy type bits. Oh, you can't even really see there. It's just yarn over and knit 2 together. And I've done them in between the stripes, so it just softens the stripes a little bit. So you can see I'm just alternating, and it's going to be a nice big squishy shawl in these really kind of rainbow candy unicorn colors. And what made me think that I was going to call this shawl the rainbow, or it's not a rainbow, the Unicorn Sweets shawl, is because the little stitch marker I'm using, and please focus. I'm not sure if that's focused. Anyway, and I can't remember where this came from. It came as a freebie with some yarn, a little gift. It may have been from Fairy Realm Yarns, or it may have been from Corkery Yarns, who is an Irish dyer. And I'm using some of her things now, and I'll show you in a minute, because they both have really lovely little stitch markers like that. Anyhow, so that made me think, oh, Unicorn Sweets. Or some people call it like unicorn farts. Looks like a unicorn farted. But as this is a gift, if it was just for me, I'd probably say that's my unicorn fart shawl, but since it's a gift, I won't. The minis I'm holding them with, the Fairy Realm Yarns, when they're a fingering, they're a superwash merino, and they are 80 or 85 yards, 80 or 85 meters per 20 grams. And my second project is this is one reason I absolutely love Fairy Realm Yarns. One of her little bags, hand painted, and has different pockets in it, and it came with, you know, lavender and all these lovely things. I just love it. I love it so much. And living in here, I mean, you probably, if you are a regular viewer of this podcast, you've probably seen it 1,000 times because I use it so much. But in it is my Ranunculus sweater. So if you've seen my last video with knitting, you'll know that I just completed my very first garment, which was the Brock cardigan, B-R-E-A-C, which is an Irish word, and I believe it means speckled or speckled trout. But it's a cardigan, out of Chunky Wool by Carol Feller. And I followed along on a tutorial because it was my first garment ever. Went really well. I can't recommend the pattern and Carol Feller's tutorials enough. Really good. So now I'm doing my second garment. And of course, watching podcasts, I've seen the Ranunculus 100 million times. It looks so lovely. And another podcaster that I enjoy watching, Selma from Little Big Knits, she has knit loads of ranunculuses and she wanted to knit another. And she said, how about we just do an informal ranunculus love knit along? And she's hosting that on her Ravelry group. And it's just really great because you can go on there and people talk about the modifications they made and you can ask questions. So if you're a newbie knitting the ranunculus, you can get help. And I said, right, I will cast on the ranunculus. And so I chose a beautiful yarn from an Irish dyer, Corcra, and that's an Irish word meaning purple. And that's, her name is Alma, and she's up in County Sligo. I don't know if that, don't bump me now. She's up in County Sligo. Oh, and this is so lovely. This is her 4-ply silky merino. It's 60% merino, 40% silk, and it's 420 meters in 100 grams, and it's called Lilac Mist. And so I balled the first one up because with the ranunculus, my understanding, oh, are you sniffing into the microphone? Where is the microphone? Okay, it's there. My understanding is with the ranunculus, if you do the short sleeve and loose and cropped version, that you can use only one skein. We'll see. So I have the backup skein. So here is where I am. And I'm just doing it very loosely. I thought this would be fantastic for summer. The reason I got some merino and silk is because I thought it would be cooler than just plain old wool in summer. And yeah, so I'm not very far because what is happening is I'm only working on it sporadically between gardening and having, you know, a lot of fibromyalgia flares. I have really just been very sore and not doing real well following any patterns. So I've just been knitting on the shawl every so often, you know, for just, I don't have to think about that shawl at all, and I don't have to look over at a pattern. But the pattern isn't hard. I did not do the cast on that she has. Oh, pattern by Midori Hirose is the designer, and it's called the Ranunculus Sweater. I believe Ranunculus Sweater. And it's a pattern that you can get on Ravelry. It's a paid for pattern, but it's not complicated. But I did not do the cast on that she recommends because it just seems quite complicated. And again, through the Ranunculus cowl, a lot of people didn't. And Selma, you know, says, no, she hasn't. I mean, she might have on the first one, but now she just does like long-tailed cast on. So I said, great, that's what I'm going to do as well. So that's what I did. And I'm working away, and I'm sure I made some mistakes, but because it's a variegated, you know, colorful yarn, you can't really see the pattern too much. So I don't think you'll notice if I, you know, any of my mistakes. So that's fine. But I'm in love with this colorway, and this yarn is beautiful. So it's going bit by bit, and I have some. I love to match my stitch markers in progress or keepers, yeah, and my bags if I can to my projects. Are you like that as well? I mean, yeah, it's just fun if you have a selection, and I've gradually built up a selection over the, you know, past year and a half. So those are my two works in progress. So now let me just pause, look at my notes, and we'll go into Unu Shiny, and we'll talk about different things like the giveaway. Okay, so I'm back. I've grabbed my notes. I've got himself here. Yep, still with me, of course. You want to lay down? That's not laying down. Down. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. He's laying down. He is laying down. He's on my lap. And let me just go through a few things that I wanted to ask you all before I forget. So I was talking earlier about the gift knits that I want to do. Although I was not thinking about giving them for Christmas, it triggered in me the fact that one of the podcasts I was watching was doing like a Christmas in July knit along. And I wrote down the note of that, but I didn't write down who it was. Now, I know Kalisha of the Quirky Monday Craftcast often does something similar, but I don't think that when I wrote that down, I was watching her podcast. I think it was somebody else. And so do you guys know? This is who I think there's a selection, because I've been writing notes about these other podcasts on the same page, but yeah, so it could have been Alex from My Yarny Corner, or maybe it was Nicole from Time Weaver, and I'll link all these podcasts below. I don't think it was Michael at Piece for Piece Crafting, but it could have been. Anyways, or it might have been Day to Day Knits. No, it's not Day to Day Knits, because that was one of the KALs I wanted to tell you about. So, and her name do I have it written down here? I don't have her name. It's gone out of my head. But she is Portuguese. She lives in Knoxville in Tennessee in the United States, and she has a newish podcast. I think, I'm not sure how many episodes, it's new, it's under a year. And she is doing a knit along. Oh, she's a great knitter. She's very good. And she's doing a knit along where if you knit any pattern that she's knitted, she also crochets. So it's make along really. So if you make any pattern that she's made on her podcast, you're entered in the knit along. And it's a year-long knit along. She's hosting it on Ravelry, I believe. And there's only a few people in it at the minute. So if you are interested in that, you're having a really good chance of winning a prize. And also just checking out a podcast where she's making really beautiful things. And there's different things that she's making that are designers I hadn't heard of anyways. And her last podcast, she was talking about some Portuguese yarns from a shop in Portugal, although I think you can get them other places and it's an online shop. And I went and looked at it, and oh my goodness, what a treasure trove. Again, I'll link that below because I can't remember the name of the website at the moment. But, all kinds of yarns, your different mohairs. There were breed-specific yarns to Portugal, which as a sheep fanatic, I got really excited about, specific breeds. But there are other yarns. They carry bigger brand yarns as well. So that really, I didn't buy anything because I was like, stop. Berka Creations crafting podcast, Sophie, she, on one of her recent podcasts, she was talking about Mokels. I actually wrote it down. Mokels, I don't know, maybe I didn't write on this piece of paper. Mokelsgin, it's a Hungarian word, and it means like squirrel gene, so like when you squirrel away things and you collect things and you keep them for, winter or a rainy day and you just accumulate. I think she was talking about it in regards to, going through her knitwear and passing on things that she didn't enjoy anymore, that she just wasn't wearing or didn't fit, and fighting against, that sort of thing, of just, collecting and yeah. So I resisted buying any of those yarns right now, but now I know about that website and some of the breed-specific yarns that are not well known, probably outside of Portugal. At least I had never heard of them. So yeah, you might want to check that out if you need some breed-specific yarn. Yeah. Anyways, so so I got distracted there again in the ooh shiny section. This is the ooh shiny section, and I got distracted even within that. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yes, so if you know which of those podcasts, or was it a different one that was talking about the Christmas in July KAL, I'd love to know. So leave that in the comments because other people probably would like to know that as well. Okay, my other notes. Oh yeah, so I'll just go ahead and tell you a few other KALs or MALs that are happening that might be of interest to you. Arctic Crafts Benta has a new one starting if you are knitting socks. It is the Arctic Summer Sock Cowl. Pardon me, and it goes from the 1st of June to the 1st of August. And what's really nice about this is she allows shorty socks. She also allows children's socks, not baby or toddler, but children's socks. So some sock cowls don't allow that, but she says that's perfectly fine. And she says she likes to do this sock cowl in summer because then you're not holding, a big project with heavy wool. So it's the Arctic Summer Sock Cowl till the 1st of August. Then there is also, I told you, Day to Day Knits. And then I believe it's going to start soon, if it hasn't started already. If you're a spinner, bats to hats. So, bats, like, your fiber. It doesn't have to be a bat. Obviously, I'm sure you can use top or whatever. But bats to hats from Late Night Knits podcast. So she'll be starting that soon, if it's not started this month. I think so. Oh, here's another note. So I have I have more things to show you, and I will show you the prizes in a minute too. But before I forget, speaking of buying yarn that you don't actually need, which I really try not to do. I try not to consume over much. That's just me. I live in a small cottage. Like I literally have a good incentive in front of my face not to consume too much, because where am I going to put it? So, but having said that, so please God, we will be going to the States for a few months in October over the holiday season. So my dad and that whole side of the family live in the States. We like to go every year. We have since the past few years. When my mom died, I really kind of was like, time is not never ending. People's lives are not never ending, which I knew, but it very much brought it to the forefront. So we've been trying to do that the past few years. Of course, last year in 2020, we couldn't do that. And it was very hard because that's also the year that my dad has been diagnosed with cancer. So we are going to go, we've both had our first shots. We're hoping to get our second shots. And then when everything is clear to be able to fly back and forth, and we can get insurance, because we need travel health coverage when we go there, because we have none. So if something happens to us, we're in big trouble as well. But we obviously have it here in Ireland. It's national. So once you go out of the EU, it doesn't work. So once we're able to do that as well, we have our COVID shots, we're able to travel, we are going to go, and hopefully we're going to stay for several months over the holiday season. All that ramble, which I might just cut out, is to say I would like some suggestions from my viewers of North American yarn advent calendars, because hopefully we will be there for Christmas. And I do love an advent calendar. It just brings such joy to my heart, because I absolutely love surprises. I know some people hate surprises. I love a surprise. Okay. So yeah. So the colors I really love are vibrant, bright colors. If you have a dyer that you love that does nice, vibrant, bright colors, yeah, could you please recommend them below? Because I would love to be able to get an advent calendar while I'm there in the US from a US dyer, because it's just, with shipping and everything, it just is so expensive to have it sent here. And while I'm here, I like to support, more local to me. Anyway, so yes. So if you could do that, that would be super. Okay, well, let's do the giveaway chat now. Okay, so the first, and I'll have to pause because I have things in a bag and I don't want to do a lot of crinkling. So many kind people have given to the giveaway, and I've made a few things, and also we're going to have a discount code, but so I have 4 prize packs, and I'll do 2 this time and 2 next time. So let me grab them and show you this podcast prizes. First batch of prizes were all kindly donated, and these are all from Irish crafters or small businesses. First off, we have the beautiful felted dragonfly. Look at it. Oh, sorry. There. This is from Sandra Marshall, who has she crafts under the name Froobells, F-R-O-O-B-E-L-L-S, and she sells on Irish Fibre Crafters website. And so she does it all. Like, she gets the fleeces and she, cards them, she dyes them, she felts them. So a lot of this is going to be Irish wool. I don't want to say all of it because it looks like there might be some silk in there too. But in all the things she makes, it's nearly 100% Irish wool and Irish made. So we have her dragonfly. Then Alma from Corcoran Yarns, who I showed you that lovely silk and merino mix earlier, she sent with that these two lovely mini skeins. Now, they were just sort of one of the kind. They don't have colorway names, and this is actually, in this camera, this is showing more blue, but it's actually a bit lighter and more sort of a bluey green turquoise. That doesn't help. And lovely little stitch markers, sheepy stitch markers, not focusing. And then a lovely Irish small business, a new small business, and they're called the Animal Support Clothing. And you might have seen the t-shirt. I won the t-shirt in a prize, and they kindly sent an extra. And so the Irish Animal Support Clothing is animal-based clothing, or no, that's not right. Well, I'll show you. So they make clothes, and you can put all sort of, you can personalize it. You can pick different sayings or photos. You are my sunshine. And this is a sweatshirt, as you can see, quite as bright as that. It's a little bit more salmony pink. It's close. Let's just, now I'm going to crinkle. But see the difference here. You can see this is like a cool pink. That's a warmer pink. And it's a size large. And it's a 80% cotton, 20% polyester. It's large, like it's very generous, so like if you don't like pink or you don't have a pet, so it's not applicable, just pass it on to someone. So that is going to be one package, one set of prizes, and these will all, be wrapped up and kept nice. And this is a merino. It's a merino. I didn't say that. So that's prize number 1. Prize number 2 is, now I'm not gonna, it's this set, and I'm calling it the B set. So in here, this is the Belclare wool that I dyed myself using daffodils from right here at Wild Cottage. And this is the first dip, and that's the second dip. So it's naturally dyed. The wool is the Irish Belclare wool, and it's actually 97 grams there. So it's just under 100 grams. And I popped in a little stitch marker from Benta of Arctic Crafts, one part. And then we have another little dragonfly from Froobells that I just thought went so nicely with these yarns. And then from Bonnie at Meadowsweet Fibre Farm, she hand makes beeswax candles, and I'm not taking it out of the bubble wrap. So we have 2 beeswax tapers from Bonnie at Meadowsweet Farm, and she has in her little thing there, I think she talks a little bit about beeswax candles, and she has a podcast as well, which is the Meadowsweet Fibre Farm podcast. And in one of her videos, well, actually the video where she talks about making these, she made these specifically for our giveaway, and she shows you how she does that. And she also has another thing she made for the giveaway, but that's going to be for next time. So that'll be next podcast giveaway. So you're not going to see it yet because it's a surprise, and because I like surprises, I'm hoping that you do too. So anyhow, so those are the 2 prize packages. What I'm thinking is that, so there's prize pack 1 and prize pack 2. If for some reason you don't care for one of them, like say maybe you're not really into the jumper, the sweatshirt, because you don't have pets, you don't like pink, you don't actually know anyone that you could give that to, just say you want to opt out of prize 1 or something like that, just so I don't draw your name and give you something that you don't want. And that way someone else has a chance to enter for it that they'd really like. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So just comment below. To enter, comment below. I'm not going to say you have to be subscribed. Because first off, you can't tell who's subscribed and who isn't if people have their settings on private, like I actually do. So like I'm subscribed to a lot of channels, but it would look like I'm not because I just have that private. So I'm not going to ask that. And one reason I'm not going to ask that is because I don't want people to subscribe just to win a prize. I want them to subscribe because they enjoy it. I like my subscriber numbers to reflect the amount of people who actually would like to watch the podcast. So you can enter the prize giveaway without being a subscriber. Of course, if you like the podcast and you think you might watch it again, I would love for you to subscribe. Okay. So really just leave any comment. And if there's one of the prizes you think I just really wouldn't use that, then just say, opt out of 1 or opt out of number 1 or opt out of number 2 in your comment. And then I will draw that from the random number generator, announce the winners on the next podcast. And on the next podcast, then we'll also have the second part of the giveaways. Steps back for his hug. He loves to cuddle when I'm doing the podcast, but he's not always good about, he doesn't really like looking at the camera. But we both wish you the very best. We hope you're doing okay. And if you're not doing okay, know that it will get better. And I absolutely speak from experience. I don't say that lightly. I'm just telling you what I tell myself. When I'm having a bad day or hour or week or month, that it won't last. It will get better. And so that's my wish for you. And be safe, be happy. I hope you and your friends are well. I hope we're all well. And just much love to you from Wild Cottage. Take care, friends.